Welcome. Today, we're peeling back the layers of the U.S. economy. We're going to look past the usual headlines and dive right into the hidden forces. The very rules of the game that shape our entire financial world.
It's a huge question, right? Is the economy a fair game? And to even begin to answer that, we first have to understand the engine that makes the whole thing go. So let's get into it.
Okay, let's kick things off by busting a pretty common myth. This idea that the entire US economy is just about getting loans for startups and hoping one becomes a unicorn. It's actually a lot more nuanced than that. The reality is, it's basically a two-track system. On one track, you've got your traditional bank loans. Think of this as the steady, reliable fuel for the vast majority of businesses out there. The coffee shops, the manufacturers, the service providers. The goal here is simple: steady growth and paying back the loan. But then you have the other track, venture capital, or VC. Now this is the rocket fuel. It's for the moonshots, the super high-risk tech and biotech startups where investors are swinging for the fences, hoping to find the next Google or Amazon.
And what's absolutely fascinating here is the disconnect between the number of these companies and their actual impact. Check this out. VC-backed firms make up less than 1% of all companies in the US, a tiny, tiny fraction. But get this, they contribute a whopping 21% to the entire US GDP. That is a staggering concentration of economic power coming from a very, very small group. So here's why that matters so much. This innovation engine, this constant churn of new ideas, that's what keeps the economy from just stalling out. Economists have a term for it: creative destruction. It's where these new, disruptive companies come in and create entirely new industries, which forces the whole system to evolve and grow.
But this American way of doing things, letting 1,000 flowers bloom and, letting most of them fail just to find a few huge winners, it isn't the only playbook out there. A very different strategy is taking shape in other parts of the world, one that's a bit more like a carefully tended garden than a wild field. Let's compare the two.
And this table really gets to the heart of the philosophical difference. The US has what you'd call a bottom-up approach. It creates this broad ecosystem where money can flow to all sorts of ideas, and then the market, for the most part, picks the winners. China, on the other hand, is all about the top-down approach. The state basically acts like the game master. It directs huge subsidies to very specific strategic sectors and handpicks national champions that it wants to see dominate the global stage. So here's the thing. If both of these massive economic engines need fuel to run, whether it's for thousands of little startups or a handful of giant national champions, where does all this money actually come from in the first place? Well, the answer in just about every modern economy today lies with the government and its central bank. This idea, which is really central to Keynesian economics, is that they deliberately pump money and credit into the system. This isn't happening by accident. It's a core part of their strategy to manage the economy, to juice growth, and to make sure people who don't have a ton of savings can still get a shot at starting a business.
Just as an example, in the US, you have government-backed programs like the Small Business Administration, the SBA. They guarantee tens of billions of dollars in loans. This provides that critical extra push for millions of small businesses that would never, ever get a look from venture capital, but are truly the backbone of job creation in the country.
Okay, and this is where we get to the absolute heart of it. This power to just create money, to fuel the entire economy, it sounds amazing. But there's a catch. And believe me, it is a very big one. This ability to create money out of thin air, it comes with a profound and often totally hidden consequence, one that quietly impacts the value of every single dollar you earn and every dollar you save.
See, today's economies all run on something called fiat money. Unlike the old days of the gold standard, its value isn't tied to a physical thing. Nope, it's based entirely on trust. Trust in the government that printed it. And this gives that government a very, very special power.
There's this quote, it's really popular among sound money advocates and thinkers from what's known as the Austrian School of Economics, and it just perfectly nails the main criticism of this whole system. It basically argues that when a government can create money whenever it wants, it fundamentally warps the very nature of work and saving. So here's the crucial point. When new money gets created, the value of all the money that's already in circulation, it goes down. Your dollar just buys less than it did before. This loss of purchasing power has a name: the inflation tax. It's essentially a transfer of wealth from your pocket to the government and whoever gets that new money first. And here's the kicker: It's a tax you never ever get to vote on.
And what's more, this tax doesn't hit everyone equally. Not even close. It's something called the Cantillon effect. See, the new money doesn't just appear everywhere at once. It flows into the economy at specific points. The people who get it first, the government, the big banks, large corporations, they get to spend it while prices are still low. By the time that money trickles all the way down to the rest of us, prices have already gone up, and our ability to buy things has been chipped away.
Which brings us to the ultimate question here. What's the deep connection between the creation of money and the exercise of power? Now, it's really important to get this. This power isn't a left-wing thing or a right-wing thing. It's not about a specific political party. It's a core feature of what you could call statism, the principle of concentrating power in the state. Governments of all stripes, from the US to China and everywhere in between, use this as a fundamental tool to get things done. And why is that? Because at the end of the day, money is simply a claim on real stuff, on people's labor, on goods, on land, on property. So it follows that whoever has the authority to control the supply of money holds a massive, massive lever of control over the entire economy and really over everyone in it. And so this all leaves us with one last, pretty challenging question to think about. If the value of your labor, which you store in the form of money, can be diluted by a decision made behind closed doors, a decision you had absolutely no say in, what does that really tell us about the nature of our economic freedom? It's the hidden rule that truly shapes the entire game.